There we go. All right, well, welcome everybody to the Inventors and Entrepreneurs Club of East Central Minnesota. I am your host for this evening, or facilitator for this evening, or just the guy standing up here at the podium. Take your pick. We have a giant crowd here in Braham, Minnesota, and even more people joining us online. And this evening's topic, if you will, has to do with entrepreneurship.
Got someone in the waiting room, Mark.
I got somebody in the waiting room. All right. Got it. All right. So the topic tonight is entrepreneurship. We're going to hear from Brian, who is a vice president for the inclusive entrepreneurship at the Initiative Foundation, which we've had the Initiative Foundation here in the past. But if I understand, this is a new position, I'll let Brian talk about it when he gets up here. Yeah. And I'll invite him up now. And right after Brian, I see Sean is online. So we'll have Sean, and he was worked with the Initiative Foundation on one of these entrepreneurial academy scholarships. So we'll hear about his business. So without further ado, I'll save all the other introductions for later, but Brian, if you don't mind taking over at the podium here.
Sounds great. Would you prefer me up at the podium or here in front of the owl, or what do you think is easier? Maybe for the folks online, can you see me better when I'm talking, or is it better when you were up front?
Linda, are you seeing both of us, Brian and myself?
Yeah, Brian? It's about 6 of one and half a dozen of the others. So.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear someone else say that. My wife always says she's never heard anybody else say that in her life. I'm glad we're recording this. I'm going to be sharing that with her.
Yeah. It's a recording. You can play it back later. So Brian's good right where he is, Linda. You think he's looking good over there?
Yeah, and I can kind of move between. I can kind of look in the camera and then move over to see folks up there. Okay. So.
All right. Well.
Sure.
Yeah,
Brian, take it away.
Yeah, and interrupt any time if you can't hear or if anything else you need. I mean, I know we've got a good group here too, and some familiar names and on the screen too. And I think maybe what I'll do is just talk a little bit of background about me, a little bit of background on some of the programs and services we do. And then I'd love to just really give Sean the spotlight and stage. And Sean, just to check, I see your name up there and you're muted. Are you with us?
I'm here.
Aha, awesome, great. And Sean, I have 2 sampler packs of Yasher kombucha here. So for the crowd that's gathered here, you're going to benefit from the folks on screen. And I think Sean, you can promote getting them down to your downtown location.
Sure.
So I'll just talk a little bit informally about sort of the program services, sort of our vision and where we're headed. And Sean, if you want to talk about your success stories, and then just thinking, I mean, and I see Nicole's name up there, I see Sandy's name up there, some good partners and collaborators of ours. So I don't know if there's kind of a larger conversation to be had about sort of like entrepreneurship programs and services and opportunities for you folks to share about your work too, because I think, our ultimate goal at the foundation is just being a backbone business support organization, at least in my role, and providing folks with the resources that they need to be successful. And sometimes that's us, and sometimes that's referring to other folks and just being in a supporting role. So I think it's a bit of background, and I'll try to navigate our in-person crowd and our Zoom crowd. So I'm Brian Verding, the Vice President for Inclusive Entrepreneurship. I had been with the Initiative Foundation just 7 or 8 months, and I started in the middle of last summer. And I made a bit about me. So I'm a central Minnesota boy. I grew up in Wright County. I grew up in Montrose, which was a town of about 400 or 500 people when I grew up there. Now it's 3,000 to 4,000. So it feels like this teeny metropolis when I go home to visit my parents who are still there. I went to school in Buffalo. I knew central Minnesota region really well. I played baseball through middle school and high school. I was a knowledgeable nerd and loved it. And so this whole area is most familiar to me growing up from like all of the sports and activities. And it feels like something of a homecoming. I went to school in the Twin Cities. My first career was in journalism. I was previously in Winona, where I was editor of the daily newspaper there for several years. Transitioned into the nonprofit space. I founded and created this nonprofit called Engage Winona, which I ran for the last 5 years. That was a number of things. We did kind of like a lot of convening, facilitating, coalition building around community development and local change. We did some, especially like on the nonprofit side in the social entrepreneur space, did a lot of support with startups and nonprofit incorporation and social enterprise work. We had this kind of a smaller version of the fellowship that I now am just sort of like a joy to be overseeing, and then came to the Initiative Foundation last summer. And so, I mean, briefly, my work is overseeing all of our entrepreneurship programs and services, and then our small business lending portfolio, among wearing all kinds of other hats as we do with COVID relief funds and small business relief funds and everything else that we have our hands in. So, maybe it's just a brief overview of our programs, and then I can talk a bit sort of about the Enterprise Academy and then Sean's connection to it, and then turn it over to him. So we, our ultimate vision, we're one player in a very big space that I think could always use more resources, could always use more bodies on the ground to support entrepreneurs. And so, our work has always been kind of living in this really dynamic space of trying to figure out how are we right sizing our programs and our services and our lending and everything else that we're delivering in really rich collaboration with everybody else in this space. So I think a lot of our work is always just trying to navigate and right size, and does it make sense for us to be leading on this programming or supporting others or making grants to other folks? But largely we see ourselves as a backbone support organization that provides a lot of resources and support, and especially in the space of what we sort of broadly refer to as underserved, and to borrow like an ILT Studios phrase, underestimated entrepreneurs. In our context, in our region, that diversity is defined very broadly. So we talk about racial and ethnic diversity, we talk about gender diversity, we talk about age diversity, and women and veterans, and also really strongly folks from very rural communities and small places, and folks of moderate and median income, and like anybody who presently or historically has faced any barriers to access to be an awesome, successful entrepreneur. And so our work in collaboration with a lot of other great partners is just helping support those visions and help folks be sustainable. And what that looks like on the ground, and some of our programs and services will sound familiar to our partners and folks on the call, and some are just really great partners on the ground with us in that. We have kind of these two kind of backbone programs that we deliver. One is called Enterprise Academy, and it's a 12-week cohort-based, essentially kind of core business skills boot camp. And it goes through all of the basics from finances and marketing and bookkeeping and ownership and incorporation, to like leasing and retail and just everything you're looking for in the first 12 weeks. And then that it's packaged with free technical assistance, and then special access to micro lending through special pools of funds we have at the foundation. That primarily has been focused on immigrant, refugee, folks of color populations in St. Cloud and the Mille Lacs area. But part of what I was excited to share tonight is that we're in a growth stage, and we have capacity, and we're looking to deliver that, especially in rural areas and smaller communities and places for folks who are kind of coming to the table, maybe as first-time entrepreneurs or looking to start a business. And just to kind of share that as just opportunities, I think we're looking for what we really look for in those are good community partners on the ground who can help us recruit and be connected to the program. So we have Enterprise Academy. We run 4, 5, sometimes 6 cohorts of that every year. Our other kind of larger scale entrepreneurship program is the Initiators Fellowship, which is a 2-year suite of supports for social entrepreneurs. So folks who have businesses that have social purpose, which we define really broadly. And some of them are nonprofits, some of them are for-profits. And that is kind of a really high level long-term investment in people. And so that comes with the not quite 30 years, $30,000 a year stipend for 2 years. Access to business coaches, executive leadership coaches, business advisors, and then kind of 2 years of programming. And then between that, where we've done a lot of growing is in delivering technical assistance, and that's both sort of delivered through our own network of TA providers, but then also very much in collaboration with a lot of folks, including like, as I see, like Legal Corps and folks connected on the call tonight, through a great network of partners that deliver these services. And then we are growing and continue to grow our lending. We've traditionally been a gap lender, and we've done deals and worked closely with East Central and with other folks. We're always available to that, although we tend not to spend a lot of time shouting it from rooftops because it's not as much of a public kind of program as it is folks who have our access and are working with traditional lenders and are looking for that extra 10, 20, 30%. And often we're in the position to help new entrepreneurs come in with that equity position. So where folks would traditionally be asked to come up with 5, 10, 20, 30% sometimes to start a business and don't have that, we're often in a position to help deliver that for really promising entrepreneurs and really appreciate playing that role. And then our micro lending, which traditionally has been available through our Enterprise Academy graduates. And we're very slowly and intentionally growing that to serve broader audiences. So at tonight, at some point, we're going to be really excited to sort of announce like a broader availability for that, but we're also starting to open up our micro lending, which like sort of generally and broadly speaking is anywhere from like $15,000 to $35,000 or $40,000 to entrepreneurs, primarily startup entrepreneurs, or ones who have just started a business and are looking to sustain. And so I just rattle off a ton of programs. Our website has them all, ifound.org. Along with my contact info, because I know a lot of folks are virtual and I'm there. And I think maybe before I turn it over to Sean and kind of tee up his success story through Enterprise Academy, just to offer that, one of our commitments to entrepreneurs in the region is no dead ends and helping folks find pathways. So we are always open to conversation. We always are open to folks giving us a call, emailing us, even if that's just to say like, I've got a cool business idea. I don't even know where to start, but I heard maybe you guys can help. We really like to be in that position, as I know a lot of our partners kind of connected here tonight. Sometimes we can access programming for folks. More often than not, we like to just be a conduit to funnel folks into resources that will support them, like the SBDCs and the SCORES and the Legal Corps and the Women's Business Alliance and Entrepreneur Fund and all of these kind of there's folks in this larger space. So it's sort of a rambling background about what we do. We're in the middle of programming, so there's nothing so Enterprise Academy traditionally runs spring and fall. Our classes are running now. We're considering doing one in the summer, so I'll just tease that for, especially we're looking at doing one potentially for folks who are in smaller communities, looking to either start businesses or folks who maybe have started a business in the last couple of years and are looking to expand and maybe looking for capital and technical assistance. So I'll tease that as something just to kind of keep an eye on. In our website and our communication. And then with that, can turn it over to Sean. So just to tee up Sean a little bit with Yashir, and Sean, I don't want to take a whole lot of your story, but is a great success story as someone who participated in one of our first, but I think maybe the first cohort we had in the Brainerd area for entrepreneurs. And I think it's a great example of sort of how we provide continuing support. So it isn't just a 12-week class, but it's the ongoing free technical assistance, it's the access to microlending, and then just us trying to be there as best we can as a partner and a collaborator and a resource system for folks who are like long past the class, but I think at any point just need a little bit of support or resources. So I think with that, Sean, I can turn it over to you to tell your story, and then maybe at some point while you're talking, I'm gonna serve up some Yashir that I have here to the crew and have them sample as you talk. So with that, I'll turn it over to you.
I think if you just pour some onto your computer, it'll go out to all of us online. So go ahead and feel free to do that. No, thanks for having me tonight. And my table is really wobbly, so I'm going to try not to lean on it. I'm in my tap room right now. And yeah, so I was part of the original, or the first, I believe it was the first cohort in the Brainerd area of Enterprise Academy. And I had already started my business. I started it back in 2019. Can everybody hear me okay, by the way?
Doing good.
Okay.
Perfect.
Cool. Yeah, so I had, it all started with a guy that wanted to drink less pop and found kombucha as a nice alternative to that. I don't like boring drinks, so water was pretty much out. I like flavor and I like carbonation. So I found kombucha to be a healthier option. Started making it at home, and then just made more than I could drink at home and my family could drink at home. And we started letting it out of the house a little bit, and one thing led to another, and people are like, this is really good, you should start a business. And then I start getting calls from businesses wanting it on tap and in their restaurants and breweries and whatever for non-alcoholic options. So then I had to find a commercial place to start my business, or to make it so that I could sell it to these places. And a friend of mine owns a brewery, and he asked if I wouldn't mind making it there and provide their brewery with kombucha while I was making it there. And I'm like, am I stupid? Of course I will. So for all of 2020, through the ups and downs of COVID and everything, we did mainly wholesale out of that brewery. And then towards the end of 2020, we outgrew our space there. So that's when I signed up for the Enterprise Academy, and we had started classes. And in the midst of being in that 12-week program, I actually purchased this building and was able to get some help even in the Enterprise Academy while I was in there, with the loan package and all of these things that I was struggling to get together before I was in the 12-week class. So in the middle of that, we purchased the building and started moving in, and then I finished the program. I utilized the loan option that we could get as we graduated from that to buy some equipment so that I could upgrade and produce more faster and supply our now tap room that we have 14 taps with 14 different flavors on it, on tap. And so anyway, the Enterprise Academy for me was pretty much a no-brainer because I didn't have a lot of experience, especially as a business owner. I knew about business with my prior job and the position that I had and some of the meetings that we sat through and things like that. But to as I always say, I cannonballed into the deep end, and that's where the Enterprise Academy really helped, because it took us from idea to brick and mortar, and it just was a really, really nice program. It was intense. I'm not gonna lie. I joke about this too, but I always said I wanted to quit my business every Tuesday night because of all the information that we got, but I didn't really, but sorry, Brian. And anyway,
It's part of the journey.
that's right. So yeah, but then it didn't stop at that 12 weeks either. I've been in touch with several people. I've had the opportunity to go back and actually speak at a couple of the cohorts a couple of times and impart my vast knowledge in their direction and which isn't much, but I get to tell my story anyway. But anyway, yeah, so I've been in touch with most of those guys that we were involved with there. And Brian is a regular customer of ours and trivia winner at our trivia nights here at the tap room. So yeah, I don't know if there's anything else you want me to touch on, Brian, or.
And Sean, do you want to talk a bit about kombucha? And so I know so folks on the call, whether they've experienced it or not, I know won't have it in front of them, but I just got done surveying everybody here in the room anyway. If you could share a little bit about sort of what we're drinking and maybe your process behind it.
Sure. So kombucha is about a 2,000-year-old Chinese method of making tea. It actually tastes nothing like tea, but it's a fermented tea. It starts with black or green tea. It's fermented, and then we flavor everything with real fruit and vegetables. Sometimes we do like a cucumber lemon in the summer that is really popular. So, but we use all real ingredients in all of it. So it's got a lot of good health benefits to it. It's very rich in probiotics and healthy acids to promote good gut health. I notice it when I don't drink it. And we have a lot of people that come in and drink it strictly for the health benefits. And we have some that don't necessarily drink it for the health benefits, but they drink it for the enjoyment. So we're set up kind of like just a regular tap room brewery. We have, like I said, 14 different taps with 14 different flavors on. And so, yeah, we do everything that a regular brewery does. We're just completely non-alcoholic. We do offer non-kombucha items too. I'm drinking Switchel right now, which is apple cider vinegar sweetened with maple syrup. It's got a little honey and a little cinnamon and a little ginger in it, and also very good for you. But we have a lot of options also that aren't. We make ginger beer from scratch. We make homemade root beer, so on.
So Sean, what about your steps getting to this point? I know we went through the academy, but you talked a little bit about you're making it at home for yourself, your family, went out the door, talked you into business. I mean, when you went to before you went to the academy, you had a business going already. But what did you learn in the academy? What else did you have? What could you tell somebody that's starting out, not necessarily with kombucha, but, got this idea, got a little business, but I want to grow it. What brick walls did you hit?
Man, for me, it was just it's been a whirlwind, and I don't know if it's just the nature of the business that I chose or what, but it's just been kind of we just kind of grew so fast, and have grown so fast to this point. It's actually kind of hard to pick out what some of those things were. I guess probably first of all, back to your question, I generally tell people find the Enterprise Academy, go through the Enterprise Academy actually, if they have an idea, just because it'll help give like a good rounded oversight or overview of how to do business. And then they'll set you up with SBDC people to help guide you through the rest of the process. Our biggest roadblock, I think, was the banks. The bank that I started trying to work with let us know 3 days before closing that they weren't going to give us the loan. And so that was a real kick in the teeth. But so we had to step back and regroup. And actually the guy that I bought the building from was real gracious and had another option for me, which is how we ended up in this specific building. But and helped us work through that as well. But yeah, it's just finding a lot of good people, and you can find those people through Enterprise Academy or the Initiative Foundation or whatever. But yeah, we were able to find a bank that actually was like, yeah, we really believe in your idea, so we're going to do this. We don't see why you wouldn't. And they actually closed a commercial property in 6 days. And that was with the help of one of my instructors in the Enterprise Academy, because she helped me rip through that paperwork like nobody's business so we could get that loan and get everything done and get in here. So
John, this is Heidi from Kanabec County. How long did it take you to get up to 14 flavors?
not long once we moved in.
Yeah.
I have a kegerator in here with 12 taps on it, and then I had a second one that has 2 taps on it. So we just started brewing and filled it up. The bigger issue once summer comes is keeping up. Last summer towards the end of summer, we had some issues trying to keep up with the demand. And so I've spent the winter working on efficiencies, getting some new equipment so that we can brew bigger batches more efficiently. I was doing some things that were taking forever and was able to kind of rework those things. And I actually shaved about 6 hours off of my production time. So it's kind of nice. Brainerd is very tourist driven. So we see a huge spike in summer and then winter just kind of dives off. So, and we're introducing basically it's not a new product, obviously, it's 2,000 years old, but it's new to the area. So we're kind of commissioned with, kind of teaching people about this product and people aren't always sure what to do with a non-alcoholic tap room either. So we're trying to let people know that you can have fun without alcohol. Not that we're against it, but we definitely we just saw a need, I think that's a big thing. That's what makes a smart businessman is they see a need. So let's do that. And so we could have, I had a liquor license and everything. All I had to do was transfer it. We could have served, craft beers out of here and everything. But I was like, you know what, there's less than a handful, well, like 2 or 3 that I know of in the entire state that are non-alcoholic tap rooms. And then there's less than a handful of kombucha tap rooms at all in the entire state. So it's pretty special.
So, how do we get your product?
So, we are in all kinds of different places. You can go to our website, yasherkombucha.com. We have a Where Are We page. I think everybody's on there. I think there's probably a couple I've got to get up there yet, but we are at, let's see, down towards St. Cloud. We're in Good Earth Food Co-op down there. We're in Nordic Brewing down in Monticello. We're about to go into Ember Coffee Shop in Big Lake. We're in all kinds of different spots around the Brainerd area. And then we get up as far north as Hackensack to a brewery up there, Pequot Lakes all along there. And then to the west, we go clear over to Wadinas. So best place is to find it on the website.
Okay.
So
I
as
have a question, Sean. Oh,
Mhm.
Can you hear me okay? I'm in my car, sorry.
Yeah.
This is Nicole, and I'm the executive director at Legal Core. And yeah, Brian mentioned we work with them a lot in the Enterprise Academy. But I'm curious, one, have you started bottling your product? And how difficult was it, if you have, to find a bottler or whatever? Sounds like it might be all just on tap. But then two, have you thought about trademark, or have you trademarked?
So trademark, no. We do bottle. We use a 12-ounce beer bottle. We were doing that as part of our wholesale line when we were at the brewery in town. So yeah, and bottling, we just do it all ourselves. We still hand label everything, and that's part of the efficiencies that I've been working on. Bottling equipment is very expensive, and so I'm not ready to put that investment in quite yet. So it means I invest more work by myself and my family. So we still bottle everything by hand, but we're getting bigger batches, and I'm thinking in the next, probably within the next year and a half, we're probably going to be looking at finding a bottling line. So
This is Jordan with the East Central Regional Development Commission. You talked about having some issues towards the end of last summer when it comes to production. How long does it take to make a batch? You talked about fermenting it. What's from start to bottles? How long does that take?
And before you answer that, I'm going to tag on, and as a home winemaker, how big are your batches?
So we were doing 150 gallon batches a week last year, and it was taking about two weeks. I can now do after this winter and working through everything and getting some different equipment, I can do about 550 gallons a week. What was the original question?
Yeah, that was yours was the time.
Yeah, how long it took, and I'm gonna add on to that too, sorry, to keep going, what's the shelf life on this? So can you stock up ahead of time before tourist season, have a big inventory, or how's that work?
Yep. So we have a big rack in our cooler, and we just try and fill that thing up as much as we can. As long as it stays cold. We just about a month or so ago, we opened a bottle that we've had in the cooler for over a year, and it still tasted great. It's just you got to keep it cold to keep it from fermenting, because everything stays live in it. We don't pasteurize or anything like that. Everything stays live. So if it warms up, it'll actually gain carbonation, and it could gain some alcohol as well. Which is the other trick, or the other hard part about kombucha, is in order to, because I got to explain this too, because this is actually kind of really cool. So this is the nerdy science side of the whole process. So when you're fermenting, you're producing alcohol. So basically that it goes through two ferments. So the first ferment, you produce alcohol, but then the way we get it back down to non-alcoholic is all of the probiotics, the healthy things in the kombucha actually consume alcohol. That's their food. So we have to get the brew times correct in order to let that process all work out so that we can get rid of that alcohol. We have to be under 0.5% to sell it as non-alcoholic. If it gets above that, then we get nicked for, basically I have to become a beer brewer. We get taxed as beer brewery and all that good stuff. So we make very sure we watch the whole process as it goes through the batch. We take measurements and make sure that we're not letting it out of here. We generally come in at about 0 to 0.2. And to put that into perspective, a ripe banana has 0.4% alcohol in it. So that's how little alcohol we're talking about.
That's why I like banana bread so
So
much.
you're, are you regulated then by the FDA or the ATF?
We're Department of Ag,
Okay,
just like regular breweries.
would it be food grade?
Yep. I'm actually licensed as a food manufacturer.
Okay. And what
Heidi.
what did you do in your previous life?
I was a regional beverage gas salesman. I covered Minnesota, North and South Dakota, and Iowa, and sold CO2 and nitrogen systems to bars and breweries and restaurants and so on.
Sandy, were you trying to
So,
jump in here?
I was just gonna tell Heidi that I'm gonna do my best to try and bring you some, I'll stop in and see if I can purchase some kombucha to bring over to Mora the next time I come and visit you. This is Sandy with the Women's
Awesome.
Business Alliance, and I'm driving now, so I apologize. I pulled over to stop, but I'll do my best to get you some.
Awesome. So I tried the apple crisp, and that is awesome. And then, well, Jordan and I swapped, and I also tried the blueberry
Oh, yeah, they're there to
ginger.
sample, yeah.
Blueberry crisp?
There's a lot of other kinds here, but any flavor, Sandy, I'm sure I will like.
See what you miss out, people, when you don't attend? We have samples floating around here, and unfortunately, we're, you know, what did you say, Sean? It's 0.2%. I think if we all drink it all, we'll probably be at 1.5%.
Yeah.
John, this is Jordan. So looking back from when you started this whole endeavor, if you could tell yourself, you know, one or two things to do differently, what did you do right? Or I should say, what did you do wrong? A couple things, and what did you do right? Because I know I try to learn from what other people would do differently, and you know what I'm trying to say?
Yep, for sure. I would definitely work on those efficiencies sooner so I could make more kombucha faster. So we didn't have the issue that we had last summer. Yeah, and man, like I said, it's been such a whirlwind. It's kind of hard at times to just even sort everything out right now. I'm already seeing the summer crunch coming, so I'm already trying to get ahead of that. But as far as what we did right, uh, I don't know, just went for it, I guess. Um, I've spent my whole life kind of just being reserved and conservative, with that kind of stuff. And just maybe I would have went for it sooner. I don't know. That's a good question that I've not really thought about.
So how long was it from you brewing at home to where you are now? Are we talking?
So I brewed at home for probably, man, I don't even know, 2-3 years maybe. And the whole thing, we had just initially kind of thought we would just kind of do it as a side hustle and just do like a farmer's market or two. And man, it just grew outside of that so fast. Another thing with kombucha is it's supposedly the largest and fastest growing beverage industry in the world right now. Non-alcoholic in general is a very big industry at the moment. People are getting a little more health conscious, and those of us that were around when the whole craft beer movement started are getting older and settling more in the middle, if you know what I'm saying. And so we're looking for I got one of those too.
It's the only thing I have that's paid for, huh?
Yeah, so people are just looking for a healthier option for that so that we can try and get rid of that. But yeah, I always apologize. I'm like, I make this healthy stuff and I look like the epitome of health, as I always say it. And people laugh. And one guy told me, hey, behind every great hamburger is a 400-pound guy. So
Hey, Sean, can you slide around your camera so we can see your tap room a little bit, please?
yeah, sure. See what I did there? So this is our bar area. So we have our taps there. This whole bar area is gonna get redone. I'm unhappy with it. That guy there, trying to do this. That is a cash register from 1912, and we use it for cash, and people love that. We do stuff with some local businesses selling some different things. We've got a tic-tac-toe board there with our growlers and bottles on it. We got some goodies popcorn from over at the Northern Pacific Center, and we have our merch there. We have a booth with a vintage Pac-Man mini version of it. At James Cullen room that's on the screen right now, it's backwards for you, but that's just our announcement thing. That's our music venue that we're working on opening in the back right now. So this is just kind of the general. So over by the car here, I'm gonna take you over here because this is one of my more moments, I guess. So this rack here, I have this idea. I was trying to figure out how to work with some of my business neighbors, and we have a little thrift store next block over called Open City.
You're kind of fading out on us a little bit, Sean.
What's that?
Your voice is fading out on us a little bit.
Oh, sorry. So we have this store over there that's called Open City Thrift. And I was trying to figure out how to work with them. And I'm like, I'm gonna go over and I'm gonna buy some stuff from them, and then I'm gonna put our logos on it and then just sell it as our merch. So we have this Open City line of merch, we call it, and it's all really nicely, gently used. Right now we've got flannels out, but we put our logo on it and then we put their logo right in the back there. So we both kind of get some, I buy it from them, they make some money, I sell it, I make some money, we both get some promotion out of it.
So Sean,
you might have talked about it, but you had the front of a car there. the front end of a car right next to the
Mhm.
flannel rack? What's the story on that?
My hobby is I build hot rods, and that's some extra parts from a car that I built. So we'll use it as
You and I
decoration.
need to talk then. You and I need to talk.
Yes, good.
And there's a road
Winemaker
trip up
and
there.
Yeah,
There we
I'm
go.
coming up, I'm coming up to see you and I want to see your Jay Leno garage.
Nice.
Linda, were you trying to jump in there?
Yes, I have a question for you, Sean. So what's your big, hairy, audacious idea for the future? Where do you want to be? What do you want this to become?
Ugh. Mainly if it can be sustainable to me and my family and just make things comfortable, I'd be happy with that. I'm just gonna ride the wave where it takes me, I guess. If it blows up and gets really big, then we'll deal with that. My biggest issue with getting too big is I don't want to sacrifice quality. And because that's very important to me, and it's very important to our customers that take this I don't take it, but drink this as for the health benefits. I got to share this because this is my favorite story. We had one person come in that she said, I have chronic kidney stone pain every day. She's like, I have to take aspirin and ibuprofen every day to manage the pain. And she started drinking some of our aronia berry and had a bottle every day. And ever since she started doing that, she hasn't taken anything for the kidney stone pain. So that's pretty awesome.
Hey, Sandy,
And so we love hearing.
I was gonna say, Sandy, I've had kidney stones. Can you pick me up some of that, whatever that he just mentioned, just to be on the safe side?
There's two over there to get you started.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you.
I'll become the bootlegger and do the run from Brainerd
Nice.
to Laura,
There
'cause
we go.
Voice
I'm there
distributing.
often.
Well, Sandy, it sounds like Sean could build you the bootlegger hot rod car too, so.
All right, I can drive that too. I'm on my way. Sean, expect a wholesale order.
Well, Sean, this is
Alright.
Heidi again. When you mentioned, first of all, you are so genuine and you seem so happy and passionate about what you do. And your comment that you said that you maybe wished you would have started this a little bit sooner. I think that was really great advice for entrepreneurs to hear. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, it's all a front, but yeah, anyway. No, no, thank you for that though. Sincerely. Yeah, it's not as scary as I thought it was gonna be, just we just kind of looked at it and one thing, I'm actually an introvert, so it's really this is almost like a nightmare for me, but it's not anymore, which is really awesome. But my wife and I talked initially when we decided to open the tap room about how excited we were about the friends that we didn't even know we had yet that we were going to be making in the tap room. And there's been a lot of great friendships forged in the last year since we opened this. And man, it's been a wild ride, but it's been really cool.
Hey, Sean, do you have any mentors or somebody that you kind of brainstorm with? And I don't want to say borrow ideas, but I'm sure you're picking up ideas everywhere you go and every time you flip on Facebook or something. But is there anybody who's kind of been kind of that mentor or inspiration and confidant as you go through this journey?
Yeah, so I made a lot of friends on breweries, microbreweries all over Minnesota and North Dakota mainly. Guys that I call fairly often because we're in the same kind of business. Kombucha actually brews very similar to beer. And I just adopted there's a lot of ways to make it to get to the same places, but I've kind of adopted a lot of the beer brewing techniques and stuff. So yeah, I've got, a couple guys that I call when I have issues and pick their brains, and then, other kombucha producers. We had one of the other few in the state started kind of poking around Brainerd a little bit, and I'm like, well, I'm going to make friends with this lady. And so I did, and we've become good friends, and we bounce ideas off of each other, and I'm able to do a little mentoring with her as well because she's newer to it than I am. And so it's kind of a nice full circle. I've got people, and I can be that to people as well.
Awesome. So just kind of looking around the room, we've got a good chunk of the people here are economic developers. Some are in the Brainerd Lakes area, some not necessarily, but in the neighboring areas. What can we do for you? How can we help not only you, but other businesses? How do we help spread the word of these good programs? The academy, these other things. How do we get the word? Well, yes, you, but other people too. You see what I'm trying to say? Sorry, I'm not too articulate tonight. This kombucha, this is good stuff. I got the 0.3 stuff, bud.
Nice. Yeah, I guess just getting in front of people. And I don't know, word of mouth just seems to be the biggest thing with all of that. The more people that go through the programs, like myself, I had a very good experience with it. So I'm never shy to, in fact, I just told good friend of mine is opening an escape room, and I was like, hey, you need to try and get in on this class if you can. And it was just a little too late for the current one, but he may sign up for the next one. But yeah, and I mean, as far as what can you do to help, like, boy, that's a good question. I know one of our biggest struggles in Brainerd is the downtown area has always had this kind of perception that it's just a place. We used to have a lot of bars. We had like 13 or 14 bars in downtown Brainerd, and it was just where you went to get drunk. You just go from bar to bar to bar to bar to bar. We've really worked hard to really break that down here, and there's not many bars left downtown, but to the locals, they still have this whole mentality. Somehow we have to figure out how to get the locals excited. But that doesn't really play into your economic development, I guess. But that's probably one of our biggest challenges with being here in downtown is just people coming to downtown, the locals. The tourists don't have a problem coming down here, but the locals.
And what would you say your customer mix is? How much tourist, how much local? I mean, you said summer's the big months, but 50-50, 80-20?
I'd say probably 50-50. We just see a lot more it's maybe more even a little more tourists, because even through the winter, we have people stopping in here from the cities or Rochester or, Winona or all over the state. So, and out of staters too, that just saw it in the visitor guide or something like that, and thought they needed to check it out.
Awesome.
How did you stumble across the academy?
So my sister-in-law knew Jeff Wig, and Jeff had thrown out an email to a bunch of people that he knew trying to get people interested in the class, and she just forwarded me the email, and I'm like, well, yeah, I need to do that. So I got a hold of Jeff, and we set it up, and that was in 2020. So that was all via Zoom. We weren't meeting in person or anything that whole entire time. So it was 3 hours down at my desk in my basement, going through that. But yeah, that's how I got hooked up with it. And then, yeah, it's been good ever since. Been good to stay connected with all those guys. And
So he mentioned that, Brian, that, that somebody couldn't get into the next academy class, so must be some cap limits.
Yeah, there are some Enterprise Academy, we tend to cap at 12, and that's a lot to do with the capacity, not the class itself, but all the one-on-one technical assistance hours we deliver. But I would say, I mean, for the good of this group, and especially knowing that like economic developers, entrepreneurship folks, and the like listening to this, we have capacity to do more Enterprise Academy. What we're often lacking is a really vested community partner. And so like Brainerd, for instance, we had one really great cohort because we had somebody, like our entrepreneurship work is always just like one step removed from the communities because we cover 14 counties and 2 native nations. So we're not always on the ground enough to know, like to do a lot of really good promotion and the word of mouth that Sean knows is so vital. And so we look for a vested community partner that said, like, we believe in this too, we see value in this, and we'll help you recruit, we'll help find folks that fit the demographic and the profile you're looking for. We'll help get some really kind of talented, ready to go entrepreneurs for this class. And that to us is a huge boost, and that allows us to start expanding that programming to other places. So I'll just kind of offer that as in kind of offering to the group. And I think when our demographic and the funding mix we have for that, asks us to focus on this very broad definition of underserved, but that broad definition includes and like communities smaller than 10,000 people. It includes economic corridors like Main Street downtowns. It includes folks of low to moderate income, and then all the other kind of diversities that we work with too, racial and ethnic diversity, gender diversity, women, veterans, things like that. I mean, even as one example, I mean, and this is maybe even just so new to barely speak into a room, but we've been in conversations too with North Central and some other folks about doing like a women's veterans or a veterans only cohort. And so we're just really looking for the community partner to help us say, we can help identify and recruit a good group of folks.
And this is Sandy, and I'll say, I'm here, I'm on board, let me know for recruitment and
Awesome.
et cetera.
And opening a distribution business?
Absolutely. I think they call it bootlegger though. But
I like it.
the whole downtown Brainerd area, I think, Sean, as you know, has really worked very diligently to try and change the aura and the perception of downtown Brainerd. And we were fortunate enough to have a couple of B strategic classes that were focused specifically on the downtown Brainerd businesses. So whether that was the bakery, the Purple Fern, some of the restaurants, etc. And I believe that slowly but surely the whole persona and aura of downtown Brainerd has changed. And I'm thrilled with it. And we want to continue with all of that with the cohorts. So I would love to see that occurring in East Central Minnesota. And I continue to try and work on that all the time. So regular partner wherever you need us to be.
Awesome.
Yeah, and downtown is very cool. There's a lot of very, very, very neat things that have moved in down here. And there's no storefronts available right now. The escape room is coming in, but it's coming in on a second level in downtown because there's no storefronts down on the main level. So
So the getting back to the class a little bit, now that you're doing in person now,
We are, yep.
and how long is the class? And sorry if you already mentioned this, but what's the cost to somebody like Sean?
So Enterprise Academy is 12 weeks, and it's based on, I mean, I was remiss in not mentioning this earlier, it's based on a model from the Neighborhood Development Center in St. Paul, which is just this incredible partner that helps deliver this kind of curriculum and training. And Sean, to his credit, I mean, to all of us who do this work, has been supporting us in other ways, including through NDC testifying to the House and Senate for some of the appropriations for entrepreneurship, for small business development, for economic development. So thanks, Sean, in advance for that. We're all crossing our fingers and hoping to see more funding through that. But yeah, Enterprise Academy is 12 weeks. We traditionally offer it in spring and summer. We have public recruiting. We have a website page at our website, iphon.org for it. The one thing to add, so we're in a time of transition and growth too. So we have a new entrepreneurship programs officer, and part of her work is developing other forms of programming. So we're also open to like folks coming in from a specific sector or a specific area and maybe looking for their existing business owners looking for kind of more condensed programming. So we may have some opportunities to do things like 6-week classes, 8-week classes, kind of a 4-week like boot camp style class. But for now, yeah, they're 12 weeks. They're $100. We call it a self-investment, and it's on a sliding fee scale. So $100 is the most that we ask folks to invest in now, and that comes back to them in the form of additional TA or toward a microloan. So it ends up being free. And so that's covered through all of our funders. So it's free 12-hour classes, so it's 24 hours of content. Nice kind of binder, which I'm sure Sean has seen and kind of loved and worked through. And then we have a minimum of 10 hours of technical assistance, and then kind of special access to micro lending. So, and then in practice too, as we've had capacity, we've delivered more resources. I mean, I think we've so far have kind of an open-ended agreement. You know, Sean's been through the class year and a half ago, 2 years now. This all predates me, so it's all fuzzy, but you know, we continue to build the relationships and deliver like TA and other resources when we can too.
I was gonna ask, now, we've got the kombucha business. What other types, you know, without telling every, you know, privacy, what businesses we're in, but what type of industries have you seen?
Yeah, so Enterprise Academy, it's like we look for a mix, you know, and we look there. So there's a lot of attention and discussion and work around kind of startups and scalable and non-place-based businesses and economies. Like our focus is on place-based grassroots economies, Main Street businesses, wealth building for families, wealth building for communities, all of that kind of good stuff. And so we see some of it's place-based and it depends. So like, you know, in the Brainerd area, we see more kind of everything from, well, we see a lot of retail focused things, retail and service in the Brainerd area. And then in the Mille Lacs tribal economy, we see more, oh man, I mean, we've had some like retail coffee shops, we've had some auto repair and detailing, we've had truck driving, small truck driving kind of businesses out of the St. Cloud area, hair care, salons, so that also kind of retail and service businesses too. But we really, other than trying to funnel nonprofit folks, we have a whole nother kind of pathway for that in our nonprofit academy and fundraising school programs. So we focus on the for-profit small businesses, but it's a big mix. It's a big mix of different businesses.
Nice. More questions? You guys are answering very well, by the way. No stumbling, no nothing. No, I can't say anything. No, I can't reveal that secret. So.
Do you think, Sean, that you would have signed up if it would have been in person only? Or was it more convenient for you to be virtual?
Oh, good question. Convenience wise, the Zoom thing was really nice, but was also kind of, it would have been kind of nice to be in the room with everybody, just to get to know them and be able to, I don't know, it was kind of funny because it was just kind of fun to look around and see all the deer in the headlights looks when we'd get to certain parts of the classes, you know. On Zoom, it would have just been that much more fun to see that stuff in person and be like, oh yeah, you thought that too? What happens when you hire somebody? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, it's a great question. And you know, from a program standpoint too, like we really wrestle with that now. So we've done all of it. We've done in person, we've done totally virtual, we've done hybrid. You know, Sean you said earlier, you talked about kind of like, you know, I showed up ready to quit every Tuesday and kept going. And it's like, it's both a joke and kind of not at the same time, you know, it's like, there's a lot of, it's hard work, and like doing something new that there's nothing tested for is even harder. And so that cohort model is a big part of the success and the outcomes of the program, is having folks together, commiserating, supporting each other. And at the same time, yeah, man, if you have to drive an hour every Tuesday for a 2-hour class, like that's really hard, you know, when you're serving folks who are already climbing barriers and climbing hills to be a successful entrepreneur, asking folks to commute and to like do transportation and childcare and stuff, it's difficult. So I think we've done it all and we're continuing to try to do it all. You know, I think if whatever mix sort of works for the cohort is what we try to adapt to. So, and that's probably what the future will hold, is some combination of in-person, really kind of intensive cohort based, and then probably some hybrid ones where maybe it's not 12 weeks staring at Zoom 2 hours, but it's kind of a condensed 6 weeks, and then we just bounce into one-on-one support. So,
Sean,
Well-
I have a question. This is Sandy. And wondering, would you have actually joined the cohort, the Enterprise Academy, voluntarily, or because you had been turned down or had as a negative experience with your lender? If you'd have gotten the money immediately to jump ahead and do your project, would you have joined the Enterprise Academy voluntarily?
Yeah, and I did actually, because that all happened while I was in the Enterprise Academy. So I had already started in the Enterprise Academy. And then about a couple of months into it is when I started working on the building part of it. But yeah, I mean, for me, it wasn't about the lending part or getting the loan at the end or anything like that. It was about me trying to learn how to cross the T's and dot the I's, you know, when it came to tax things and all the things that I didn't think about as a business owner that I'm going to have to think about. And then just having resources, we're always better together. So it's always easier and better to network with people that make friends with the people that are better than your weaknesses, you know? So, and that to me is the opportunity that you have with a class like that, through the instructors. And then, like I said, with the students that we were in there together with, you know, just being able to like, man, I'm really struggling with this. How did you get through that? Or, you know, I still keep in touch with one or two of my classmates too as well. So, yeah.
Well, that's one of the things we always hear so many times, is that good leaders and strong business people surround themselves with their partners that that you can rely on and count on. And I think you're a great example of that. And thank you so much for sharing your story. It's really inspirational I think for all of us. And this is kind of what we all do, is try and help people like you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. And my hope is that I can do the same to the next guy coming along, you know? So.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Nice. Any further questions from anybody? And by no means, I'm not trying to hurry everybody out of here. I sit here all night and listen, actually. But if anybody has any questions, hearing, seeing none. Sean, Brian, thank you. Really
I would just say that we're in the middle of a blizzard in more western Minnesota. So hopefully you only have rain there.
Oh, that's all we had when I came in.
I was gonna say an hour ago anyway, that's what's good.
Yeah.
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 And Sandy, it's all dark there. We can barely see you. It's like one of those police outline kind of things.
You got it. And wait till I get the number in front of my, it'll be fine.
Exactly.
Well, no, seriously, thank you.
See you,
Really
bye.
appreciate learning about the program. Sean, love hearing your story. It's wonderful. Wish you much success. I am going to get your
Thank you.
contact information, and because we need to talk some hot rods at some point.
Can't wait
Absolutely.
till I come up to Brainerd. I'm stopping in. This is awesome.
Yeah. I was actually thinking it'd be a nice little road trip up to Brainerd again that I haven't done for about 2 years now.
This is a blue ribbon fact finding mission. We can deduct this as a business expense.
Absolutely.
Hey, along those lines, we have a flavor that I call the hop rodder. It's a triple hopped citrus attack. Tastes just like a IPA.
Well, you've got a few people that raise their eyebrows, but unfortunately, I'm not an IPA guy, so.
You're twisting my arm, man. You're twisting my arm.
So, well, with that, is anything anybody wants to bring up to the group since we have a few minutes, talk about, discuss? Heidi gave us a 20-minute kudos last time I put her on that spot, so I can't even ask her again.
20 minutes. Oh.
Okay, 19 and a half. All right, well, with that, everybody, Sandy, I see you're still there, and Linda, how is the view? How did all this work out from our new format, our new camera angles? Did that work well for you folks?
It did for me. I was able to see it. I would have come in tonight, but it was just too cold and wet out. Sorry.
No, that's all right.
Now I wish I had, because I would have loved a little sample.
Okay, well, that's good to know. Jordan is not here next month.
Right.
And I think we might shorten the length of this a little bit, maybe take one of the owls out and rearrange, but definitely try to do something a little different again for some better camera angles, put it up on the big screen. Linda, it's almost like you're here chairing the meeting.
Yeah, I would just say, Mark, that I would love to see your smiling face a little closer. So the owl or Sue or that nature, but otherwise it was absolutely great. And I'm so happy I was able to continue to hear and participate briefly. So thanks for doing this.
Sandy, it's always good to see you even in the dark.
Well, and the thing about these meetings
Oh,
is they're all recorded and then eventually posted on the websites for the INE Club. So we can send links to these videos for those interested and who weren't able to make it today. And I know that several people utilize that after the fact. Entrepreneurs do. So even though we have, it seems like we have a small group tonight, there'll be many more people watching later on.
We have a big following.
Mhm.
And what is that website again, Jordan?
ECMN Business, short for East Central Minnesota Business.com.
Oh, that's
Perfect.
And we're on Facebook and LinkedIn. So follow us and keep you up to speed.
Tweet, follow,
Like, share,
share,
all that stuff.
yeah.
I wonder if Don Olson would be a contact for Sean someday for his bottling machine.
Yes.
He didn't have bottling, he was canning. It was cans of beer that he was.
Oh, it was cans.
Sean,
Oh,
would your products can well, you think?
Yeah, the way they make cans nowadays, we would be able to can it. So
So the person that Linda is referring to was inventing a beer canner. I think it was growler size actually when I was there that he was working on. But
yeah.
it actually takes all the air out of the can, all of it.
Mm.
So it's very interesting, and he was getting very close to having that finalized. And that was a year and a half ago, probably, that we were there. But he is in the Moore area, and if that's something that interests you, I know Heidi knows who he is. I know he, like I said, he invented a canning machine. It was kind of automatic. You load up the tops and the cans go through, and that was the one thing is all the air is out of the can. So when you pick up that aluminum can and try and squeeze it, it's as hard as a steel one. There is no making a dent. So that might help your product because as you mentioned about the fermentation, and I do understand that from the wine process. So, you know, in the carbonization, you definitely don't want to have all that exploding.
Hey, Sean, this is Jordan. Have you ever worked with an outfit called AURI, Agricultural Utilization Research Institute?
No.
Tomorrow, I'll try to remember. I'll try to get you some contact info. They are anything and everything from soup to nuts. I see you got, you know, nutrition labels on here, but they help source product. They help with the science behind it. They've got grants available from time to time. That might be something worth at least having an initial phone call to get the ball rolling. If you could, well, hang on, if you got a pen, I'm going to give you a name and a phone number right now. The guy I talked to, his name is Harold Stanislawski. That's his name. He used to do economic development in Fergus Falls.
Write that down, Sean.
Yeah. Harold is his name. His phone number is 218-770-0448. Again, 218-770-0448.
Just ask for Stan S.
Just ask for Harold. But he's a great guy to talk to. Tell him about what you're doing. And he may have, he was what, Fergus Falls or Otter Tail County, one of the other, their economic developer for years. And with all the aid related stuff, I think he's a good conversation worth 15 minutes of your time to broach the subject.
Sure.
And Mike Sparby is a shorter name to remember.
Easier to spell too.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's a great suggestion. Yeah, and Sean, actually, AURI is working with Jordan, one of the recent Enterprise Academy graduates from Mille Lacs, who has a tea business and needed a lot of help figuring out like the dehydration piece and the nutrition label piece and the certification piece. So they're familiar with Enterprise Academy too. And Pam in particular, I know you work closely with, is the one facilitating that. So yeah, that's a great suggestion.
All right. Anything else for the good of the order? If not, those of you heading Sandy Voigt's way, put your snow tires on. And
It's me.
rest of us grab an umbrella and we will see everybody next month, same time, same place.
Thanks, Sean.
Have a good night.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you
Sean.
all.
Thank you, Sean. It was very good.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Yeah, thank you.